Hey everybody, thank you so much for joining back with us on our POAC virtual events. My name is Brittany. I work for POAC Autism Services. In case you don't know, welcome to all new families. We love having you today. And we are starting to do more virtual events as the weeks go on. So, guys, if you remember Mr. Jim, he's jamming out with us. That's going to start January 5th. Check out all our events on our events page or our website, www.coac.net. Okay, guys, we've had him on many a times. We're having him on again because you guys absolutely love him. It is the most amazing thing to watch all these creatures that Danny from Zoo Jersey is about to show you. Danny, I'm so excited. Take it away.
Thank you so much for having me. I am incredibly excited to be back with my POAC family. I love you guys. It's been so long since we've spoken last. And of course, we have some cool animals to show off for a while this afternoon. As usual, I invite you all to make sure that you ask any questions or make any comments you want in the chat section, and I will do my best to look over there and be able to take your questions as we go along, because there's going to be some exciting stuff to look at, and I want to make sure you get all your questions in, right? So hello Jaden, how are you? It is so good to be back with you during this time. I'm sure everyone is enjoying the winter wonderland that we're in right now, right? Here in the Northeast, we are getting some fun snow because we are right at the start of winter. And the crazy thing is that we don't often think about the fact that although it's the start of winter here on the top part of the planet, in the southern part of the planet, it is the beginning of summer, which means babies are being born. So today, we are going to look at some really fun babies that are being born this time of year, right in the middle of winter, because in South America and in parts of Africa and in Australia, it is actually the beginning of the summer, and that's the time when these animals usually have their babies, so that the babies can enjoy the good weather and get nice and fat before it gets cold or dry or any of those things, right? So let's look at some really fun creatures today that are being born around this time of year. I have one really fun one. I'm going to show you this animal, and I hope I can show him to you in the right way. I might have to play around with the camera a little bit, so I apologize if I get you a little dizzy moving the camera around. But what I have here in this little glass container, or plastic container, is a very cool little creature. Now, if you can see that, which I think you can, let me see me spin him around this way. Sorry, buddy, don't want to get you dizzy. There he is. Okay, perfect. That is a baby Argentine horn frog. Now, these are often kept by a lot of people as pets, and they're commonly called Pac-Man frogs, right? Does anyone know Pac-Man? I know moms and dads watching. We might know Pac-Man. For some of you here guys, it was an old video game where it basically had this little circle that used to run around and eat everything it possibly could. It used to make this little like wonk, wonk, wonk noise, right? So anyway, the Pac-Man frog here, they get their name because this animal is basically all mouth. He is like one giant mouth. Let's see how close we can get and keep him in focus. Okay, it seems to be working. Oh, sorry, don't hop, buddy. Okay, so we got a good face-on view. He's called an Argentine horn frog because his eyes are right there at the top of his head. And on top of each one of his eyes, he's got these little horns, right? And you'll notice that their eyes are really high up on the top of the head. And there's a reason for that. They like to spend most of their time buried in the ground. And when they're actively hunting and looking for food, they'll spend that time with just their eyes above the ground. You can kind of see how it worked there, right? They spend that time with just their eyes above the ground. And that lets them watch and wait for other creatures to come by. And when they get too close, they grab them. Like I said, this guy's mouth is huge. Now his mouth starts like all the way here from this corner here, and it goes all the way around the front to the other corner there. And he is literally just basically a mouth with a stomach attached to him, which means he can eat anything that will fit in there. And there are a lot of things that fit in there. Now this is just a baby, okay? This guy was a tadpole just about 2 weeks ago. He just came up on land. And of course, if we know what we know about amphibians, like what we know about frogs, is that most frogs will start off as an egg, right? And then they hatch underwater and they turn into tadpoles, right? Which are these little cool swimmy things. and they look nothing like the frogs. But for a while, they spend that life as a tadpole, and then when they get old enough, they start to sprout out legs, right, in the front and in the back, and then they have 4 arms. Well, they have 2 arms and 2 back legs, and then their tail starts to disappear, and eventually they move up onto land. That is why they are called amphibians. The word amphibian actually means 2 lives, because they spend part of their life underwater and then the other part of their lives above water, right? So this guy, he just turned into a little frog. So he's pretty small right now, but he's going to grow up to be about the size of a baseball. Yeah, he gets pretty big. As a matter of fact, when he gets older, he'll be able to eat an adult mouse if he wanted to. So they are just a giant, giant ball. Now, one of my favorite things about these frogs is that they actually do a thing that's pretty close to hibernation, right? Which sounds weird for a frog. You wouldn't think of a frog as being something that hibernates, but where they come from in Argentina, they basically have a dry season and a wet season. They don't have summer and winter as much as like a cold and hot thing. It tends to be a dry thing or a wet thing, right? So most of the season it's pretty wet, and there are big ponds for them to hang out, and they have to bury themselves in the mud at the end of the ponds, waiting for something to walk by so that they can eat it. So it's a pretty good life then. But for a good part of the year, maybe about 3 months of the year, it gets very, very dry where they live. So dry, there's no rain. All the puddles start to dry up, and there's nowhere for them to live. So what they do is they bury themselves in the mud, right? They go deep underground, and they go about a foot down into the mud, and they start to cover themselves in this amazing, magical slime. Yeah, you wouldn't believe it, but they cover themselves in this slime, and within a couple of hours, that slime, it hardens up, and it turns into basically like a hard plastic shell, and it protects them. It keeps them wet when it's really dry outside. So they can spend months like that, sleeping underground, covered in basically a protective plastic coating. And sorry, buddy, I don't mean to make you fall there. They live in this plastic coating almost for months and months on end. And then when it starts to rain again and the ground gets really, really wet, the water goes down into the ground and it reaches where they're hibernating. Actually, the word's called brumating. It reaches where they're brumating, and it breaks that plastic seal open, that membrane open, and they dig their way back up to the top, and they drink fresh water, and then they go about their business and start hunting and doing amazing things. Now, I don't know if this guy will do it, but one of my favorite things about these frogs too is when they get scared, they will scream. That is actually their defense. They're pretty brave. They're pretty brave little animals. But sometimes when they get really, really scared, they will actually scream. Let's see if we can get him to make any kind of noise. Okay, hold on. Hi, buddy. Do you want to do anything for us? No? Okay. Well, either way, I want to take him out and show him to you a little closer. Let's back up a little bit. I want to make sure we can get him well in focus. Let me move out of the way. It's totally not helping. We'll figure this out. Hold on. Okay. So, there we go. A little bit. That's better. Hey, buddy. I hope it would help if I came towards the camera. There we go. So you can see those little horns on top of his head that we were talking about, right? You see them right above his eyes. Oh, let me hold on to you, buddy. Hold on. And he just went to the bathroom on me. It's okay. That's what they do. It's normal when they get a little nervous and scared. But you can see the little horns above his eyes that we were talking about. That's why he's called an Argentine horn frog, who's going to be polite and not go to the bathroom on me anymore, right? Good. Okay. So you can see his little kind of horns on top of his head there, and you can see that is all mouth. Look at that. Look at him. There's like, I'm holding his body, and that's like nothing. That's like, there's nothing to his body. He's just a giant head. He's a giant head that likes to eat everything in sight. And one last thing I'm going to say about these guys, which I didn't say earlier, so I didn't get him to sit here for me. You mad at me? Are you mad at me? Yeah, he is. One thing that I forgot to mention earlier is that one of the reasons it helps them to have such a big mouth is, I said earlier, they can eat everything, right? But one of their favorite foods are actually other frogs. So they're made big enough, their mouths are big enough to allow them to eat other frogs, right? I can go on and on about this guy, but we're going to move on because we have some other really cool creatures to show you. But this is our Argentine horned frog. And if you have any other questions, you can always reach out, and we'll be more than glad to answer in your room for you. Okay, let's get him back in your container. Hey, buddy. And we're going to move on. I'm going to dry my hands because that was kind of gross. Okay, let's move you over here. All right, buddy. Good job. All right, he was very good. Let me see if I could find my next friends. Where are you? Are you here? Yeah, I think he's here. Oh, okay, I see him. I see him. He's here. This one's going to be fun. This one might be a little hard to see, but we'll work through it and make sure that we can see him. Okay, he's really cool. This is an animal that relies a lot on camouflage. And I want to talk a little bit about that today. For those of you who don't know what camouflage is, it's the way an animal blends in with its environment, and that helps it to either hide from being eaten by other animals, or it helps it to get really close to the animals that it actually wants to eat, right? So camouflage works either way. And this animal has really great camouflage for both reasons, actually. Let's see if I can show him off to you. Hey, little man, come on up here. Come on, it's your turn. Come on. Come say hi to us. He's a little nervous, so let's see if we can get him to come up without him getting too crazy. There you go, buddy. Okay. Let me see if I can do this in a way. Let me see if I can fool you first. Okay. Hold on. Let's let him do his thing. Yeah, let him get settled. And then I'm going to show him off, see if we can find him. Okay, here we go. Okay. I think we're good. Ready? Do you see him? Go back a little. Do you see him anywhere? Do you see any animal hiding there on this normal looking branch? Oh, there he goes. He's moving. Did you spot that? Did you see that? Right here is our friend. This is an African twig mantis. He's basically a praying mantis. Let me see if I can zoom in a little bit on him there. He wants to look around like, hey, where can I go? He's a praying mantis from Africa, and they are really good at hiding themselves. And their bodies, as you can see, basically looks like a brown twig. And it looks like a brown twig, and normally they sit pretty still. He's very curious. If you can see, I think you can see his head is kind of moving around all over the place. That's what I love about mantids, is that their heads are really, really flexible. And their heads turn around, and whatever they want to look at, they can't move their eyes. They can't move their eyeballs like we can, right? So we can kind of look to the side a little bit, and you can kind of see what's happening. They can't do that. They can't look to the side. So they have to turn their whole head around at everything that they're looking at, right? You can see he sits pretty still now. So he'll often move around, and he'll turn his head around, and you can see he's doing a little bit right now is he moves back and forth very slowly, right? And it looks like he's looking at me now doing it. It looks like the twig is moving in the wind, right? But that's actually his camouflage. And he's looking. Do you see him looking up? He's looking straight up right now. Do you see his cute little head? Do you see how cute he is? Oh my goodness, I can't. I love it. I love how cute mantids are. They're so cute. So he's looking up. He's trying to look around, and he's doing his little swinging thing right now. He's swinging back and forth. Oh, look, he's going to clean his little hand off. That's very cute too, right? But he's using his camouflage to kind of look around and see if there's any food anywhere. And he's doing, I'll turn this way so you can see if he's doing his swinging thing. Yeah, there you can see he's doing his swinging. He swings back and forth very slowly, like a piece of wood in the wind. There's nothing here but me on this magical twig. And normally what he'll do is he'll sit just like that, and he'll wait right at those flower tips, right? And what usually gets attracted to flowers? Moths, butterflies, small flies and bees, right? That's a good place to wait for some potential food to come by. So he hangs out there, and he waits right by those flower tips for something to fly in. I think that's what he's doing right now. I think he's looking around the room waiting for something to fly in. You can see his little head. He cracks me up. He's so funny. He's doing his little swinging thing, and he's moving his head around. But so he's looking around, and he's waiting for something to show up. And when something shows up, he's got those little arms, right? He's got these arms, and that's how a lot of times you'll hear the word praying mantis, because it looks like they're praying, because they have these arms that they keep close, like they're folded, like they're saying a prayer, right? And they keep them really, really close. And then when something comes within reach that they want to eat, their arms shoot out lightning fast. They shoot out super, super fast, and they grab a hold of whatever it is that they're hunting, and then they just bring it to their mouth and they eat it. They corn on the cob, right? They're really, really good, and they're amazing predators. So we have here in New Jersey, we have one species of, no, actually we have two species of mantids that are native here, and we've got another one or two that aren't native, which aren't normally from here. They came here from other countries. But overall, mantids are really good to have around. If you ever spot one in the wild, you should definitely leave them alone. They do a good job. They eat a lot of bugs, and mostly bugs that are pretty bad. Bugs that eat crops, that eat trees, that bother us. They're not picky. They will eat anything and everything that they can catch. So if you ever see a mantis outside, you should just leave them be. I mean, of course, if you should, I encourage you should check them out up close. They're fascinating animals, so you should see one and visit it and check him out up close and watch what he does and observe what he does. And I promise you, it'll be super interesting. But you shouldn't be scared. They won't do anything to you, really. They can bite if you grab him and he didn't want to be grabbed or held. He could definitely bite, and it's not fun when they do, but they generally don't. They're actually pretty pleasant animals and really cool. And this guy, he was actually he was born in a zoo because this is a really uncommon type of mantis that comes from Africa. And they were kind enough to send me one of their babies, which we've been raising up for a long time. I'm trying to show him to you, but he's very active right now. He wants to show off to everybody. Let's see. There he is. Normally, they spend most of the time just sitting and waiting for for some potential food to come by. So they're usually pretty calm. So it's funny to see him moving around so much. But of course, he's going to show off for you guys. He wants to show off. He wants to show everyone how amazing he is, and he does look just like a twig. He can bend his body in different ways so that, oops, don't slip, buddy. I think he was gliding down there like a little fireman. So they can bend their bodies, as you can see, in different ways to look like branches, either like that are bent or twigged or camouflaged really well. They're really they're amazing at camouflaging and waiting, and they're great at surprising their potential prey. Now, once again, even though they use camouflage to hide from the animals that they're trying to eat, they're also hiding from animals that want to eat them, because birds will gladly eat a nice chunky mantis like this. There you go. So you can see his cute little face when he looks around the room. Birds will definitely eat them any chance that they get. And there's actually a lot of different animals that might try to eat them. Lizards, depending on where they live. Like I know where this guy lives in Africa, there's definitely a lot of lizards. Oh, look, he's cleaning himself. They're very clean. Like they always clean their mouths and their arms, which is very cute. Sorry, I got distracted by his cuteness. So they will definitely get eaten by birds, lizards, even some snakes eat insects, believe it or not. And maybe if we have a moment, we might actually meet one of those today. But they're really fascinating creatures, and I absolutely love them. I think he's cleaning himself off right now. See, he's very well behaved. Oh, he's looking around the room. I think he saw something. All right, let's move on. This is our friend, the African twig mantis, and I'm glad you guys got to meet him because he's very special. Like I said, I raised him up for a while since he was a baby, but unfortunately, they only tend to live about a year and a half total. So we really want to appreciate him and let him know how much he's appreciated, because he's only going to be with us for so much longer. But hopefully he'll be with us through spring. It should be really fun. So we'll see. Let me put him back and let's get him settled in. And then what I'm going to do is move on next to something pretty cool, which you don't often get to see. So I wanted to take this chance. I wanted to take this opportunity to show you this creature because it is pretty special. A lot of times we hear stories about, when we think about large creepy animals or creepy insects, we tend to think about tarantulas, right? Tarantulas are often scary. And from what we know about tarantulas is that they're very poisonous. And they get to be really big, hairy spiders, and they always show up in places when you don't want them around, right? But the truth of the matter is tarantulas are actually really fascinating animals, and a lot of people don't get a chance to see a baby tarantula. So I'm going to try this. This has not always worked out too well for me. This guy's a little nervous and tends to jump around a lot, but we're going to see if we can show him off to you just a little bit because he's pretty special. This is a baby pink-toed tarantula. Now, before I take him out, I want to explain something to you. The pink-toed tarantula, they are really well known for living in the trees. They like to live up high in the treetops, and they can actually almost fly a little bit, which is crazy. When they get really scared, or if they're getting chased by something, or they need to move fast in a hurry, what they will do is they will actually jump from a tree, and they open their legs up, just like my hand, right, as wide as they can, and all on their legs, we'll see hopefully when I take this one out, but all of their legs are covered with these thick, wide hairs. And when they spread their legs out like that, those hairs act almost like feathers, and it helps them glide just a little bit on the wind. They're not going to fly, so you don't have to worry. There are no flying spiders. Do not panic. There are no flying spiders. They will not fly after you or chase you. But definitely having that feathery, having those long feathery hairs on their legs, it allows them to be able to catch some of the gusts of wind and just be able to travel a little farther in this direction as opposed to just going it's like jumping and being like, yeah, and then just kind of smushing down below, right? That wouldn't work. So what they do is they kind of glide and they go really far and then they'll land on another tree and climb up. All right, let me not talk so much about tarantulas. Actually, show you a tarantula because they're so cool. You don't want to miss this. All right. Hi, little buddy. Do you want to come out and say hi to everybody? Hopefully. Now, tarantulas can bite like any other creature, and they are indeed venomous, right? They do have poison, and they bite with their fangs, and they have fangs that act like needles, so they kind of inject down their skin. I'm not overly worried about this guy biting me, but that could happen. If it happens, I'll probably just yell. No, I won't. I'll be fine. This guy's so small, I don't think he would do anything, and his poison would not affect me in any way, so you don't have to worry. But I do try to be a little respectful of them. Oh, come on, buddy. I do try to respect them and let them know that I'm not here to hurt them, so that they don't try to do anything like bite me or get nervous, because that's definitely not what I want. So I'm just trying to move him out a little bit. I have to explain something to you about me and tarantulas. Tarantulas and I have been friends for a long time. Ever since I was a little boy, I loved collecting tarantulas. And one of the problems is that after a while, you can become a little bit allergic to tarantulas, which has happened to me, actually. So they're covered in these hairs, and their hairs they're very special. Hi, buddy. Don't jump. It's okay. Their hairs are very special because some of them have like little needles on them, and they use these to defend themselves. Okay, here he comes. Sorry, it took a while to get him out. Oh, but there he goes. This is a little baby Pinto Tarantula, and he's moving very fast, as you can see. So this guy is a couple of months old, and he's about a quarter of the way size that they are. Now, the thing about handling a spider like this is, as you're noticing, they can be really jumpy and fast. They are super fast when they want to be. It's usually only for a few inches, but when they move, you have to be ready. So I'm trying to get him not to be super jumpy and to just kind of hang out with you. Let me see if I can show you what he looks like a little more. There we go. So this is a really fun spider. This is look at that. Sorry, I'm like jumbling my words here. This is a pink-toed tarantula, and you can see why right there at the very tip of his foot. He's got a little pink spot, right? And that is all the way around. They have pink toes. And so this is a pink-toed tarantula, and they're from the Amazon rainforest. And this is just a baby. Now, the adults get to be pretty big. The adults get to be about 4 or 5 inches. Right now, he's probably about 2 inches. So adults will be about double that size. It's okay, buddy. And one of the interesting things about tarantulas that most people don't realize is that they can actually smell things with their feet. So right now, he's smelling my hand. He knows that he's not on a tree. He knows that he's not on a branch. Right, so that's why he's being so cautious and so nervous, because he can smell that he's on another living creature right now, and he's trying not to be nervous. So I was telling you earlier about me and tarantulas. I love tarantulas. I absolutely love them. Some of you have seen. I have them tattooed on my arm. Everything. I just love them ever since I was a kid. And tarantulas on right here. Wait, I'll get there eventually. There you go. Right there in this part of their body. Which is basically a tarantula butt, if we're going to be honest, right? So basically on the tarantula butt are these special hairs. And the hairs at the tips, they look like they have little arrowheads. They have these little triangle tips, right? And when these spiders get nervous, they actually take their legs and they kick off their hairs. And when they kick off their hair, the hairs go flying through the air, and the little pointy part that looks like an arrow tip gets stuck in your skin, and it becomes super duper itchy, right? That's their defense. The hairs have a really long name. They're called urticating hairs. So they have these urticating hairs on their backs, right? And they use it as defense, and they kick it off, and you get really itchy. So it comes in handy if they're being eaten, or being like an animal is trying to eat them, like let's say a small mouse or a lizard or something. Oh, please don't run away. So they'll kick those hairs off into the animal's face, and when those hairs get into the eyes or the nose, they cause a lot of itchiness. And because they have that little point on them, that little hook, they dig in really deep into your skin, so they cause a lot of discomfort, right? So that's kind of their defense. So what happened to me is over years, over many years of taking care of spiders and tarantulas especially, I've gotten those hairs stuck in me a lot of times, and my body has been like, that's it. No more of those. So I became allergic to it. So now whenever they do push those hairs on me, I become super duper duper itchy. and it takes me more than a few days to get over it. So I try not to hold him too much, but I wanted to show this guy off to you because you don't often get to see a really cute little baby tarantula like this. And just look at that cutie. He is just pretty extraordinary, isn't he? Right? Okay, I'm going to get him back, and I'm going to show you. I want to make sure I can show you at least one more really fun creature. So when you get him into his cage, go into your cage, and please don't run away very far. Please. There he goes. Okay. In his cage. Home safe and sound. See? Okay, let's move on. We'll move him over here for the moment. And we're going to move on to another really fun animal. Now, I wanted to show you this one because you don't often get the chance to see this creature. Now, this is a pretty common animal, and we actually have them here in New Jersey. Sorry, speakers from our containers are closed off. Last thing I want is something running around, right? This is an animal that we actually have in New Jersey. And most people don't realize that we have this creature living in New Jersey, and it's fascinating. Now, the one I'm going to show you is a cousin to the one that we have normally in New Jersey, and I'll explain the difference. But this is a snake that is really exceptional in a lot of ways. I'm talking about as far as snakes go, like across the world. It's really fantastic to be able to see one of these up close and personal. So let me try to get him out. Now, he's a little on the nervous side, so let me work with him a little bit here. But, hey, buddy. This is a very special treat. Come on, buddy. Oh, of course he's all dirty because he's digging around in the mud, but it's okay. We understand that digging in the mud is fun. So just ignore his muddiness, right? So this creature, oh, you wouldn't think of seeing this in New Jersey, right? This looks like some exotic, wonderful green snake, but this is actually called, you guessed it, a green snake. This is actually I believe this is a rough green snake. In New Jersey, we have what's called a smooth green snake, and it's very hard to tell them apart. Like you literally have to see their scales and feel them to understand. But this is a really special snake. They are one of the best camouflaging snakes that we have in New Jersey. They like to live in bushes, especially, and low trees. And they live in these bushes and low trees, and they hunt their favorite food item. Now, here's what's really exciting to me about them. Not only are they super pretty, I'm trying to see if I can show them to you without the light glaring off them too much, but they've got these bright green tops, and then their bellies are bright, super bright yellow. And so they'll spend this time camouflaging, kind of wrapped up like this, and they act and look like a living vine, basically, sitting up in a tree. And you wouldn't believe it, but their favorite foods are actually insects. This is one of the very few snakes in one of the very few snakes in the world that actually eat insects. That's not a common thing for all the things that snakes eat. You know, some snakes only eat other snakes. Some snakes will eat anything that is warm-blooded, and others will eat anything that's cold-blooded. It depends, right? This is one of the few snakes that actually only eat other insects, or actually only eat insects, I should say. They like to eat things like isopods, which we know as roly-polies, right? They eat crickets routinely. They eat slugs, worms, and they'll also eat things like cicadas and all kinds of basically anything, and spiders. Basically anything that they can capture and put in their mouths, right? So it's pretty neat. Not only do we have this snake that a lot of people in New Jersey don't realize we have, but they behave so different from any other snake anywhere around the world. And I just thought that's something that we would really want to appreciate and show off a little bit, because it's a really fascinating creature, and I think literally it is one of the most beautiful snakes in the world. I'm trying to show off his colors a little bit. It's hard to get him in the light here, but he's really bright green and has a yellow belly, and they're very alert. One of the things that I want to say about this animal too before we go is that they are one of the snakes that have the best eyesight. They watch everything. When this guy is in his enclosure, he watches the room. He watches everything I do, and his head is always turning, and his guy's tongue is always out. He's always trying to check out what's going on in the room, and it's really fascinating. And to me, that's a sign that he's a pretty intelligent animal, because not only is he a predator, but he's always watching, and he's always on the lookout for something that might be different or something that might be useful for him, which is pretty fascinating. So I'm really glad that I got to show you our green snake. This is our rough green snake, which is native to New Jersey. And I hope that one day maybe you will have the pleasure of meeting one. Usually it happens accidentally when people are hiking on paths or hiking on trails that are opened. They will accidentally encounter these guys, and that has got to be a tremendous treat. So, anyway, it is time for us to go. I want to wish everyone a happy holiday, and thank you so much for joining me this year. I've had a great time speaking to you and showing you guys some amazing animals. So I look forward to speaking to you next year. And everyone have a wonderful holiday season, and take care from us here in New Jersey.